Hello, I'm Beth Britton. I support Dementia Community with their communications work. Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Supporting People to Live Well with Dementia, Practical Tools and Insights. Before I introduce you to our presenters, I wanted to briefly explain a little more about Dementia Community. Dementia Community is a charitable community benefit society, a membership cooperative that provides learning and networking opportunities for the dementia care community. We are an independent voice and inclusive organisation aiming to help all of our members to feel connected, informed, inspired, empowered, purposeful and engaged in co-produced changes that improve everyone's experiences of dementia, both in care and in wider society. This webinar is just one example of the many ways in which we do this. Community members own a £1 community share in Dementia Community, and membership is open to everyone. So if you aren't already a member, do join us. You can use the QR code on your screen or the link in the chat to visit our membership page. If you have any difficulties in signing up for membership, do pop me a message and I will endeavour to help. I also have some notices to share with you very briefly before we get started on the content for today. So, firstly, have you noticed that our nominations are still open for the UK Dementia Awards? They are open until Friday, the 27th of February. There is an array of fantastic categories to nominate amazing work for. I'm absolutely certain we're going to have people who are attending this webinar today who would definitely be doing some amazing work in these categories. So please do have a look at the awards, get your nominations in. We very much look forward to reading them. Do use the QR code on your screen or the link in the chat. I also would like to signpost to our latest editor's pick from the Journal of Dementia Care. This is a free article chosen monthly by the editor of the journal, shared to give you a taste of the content of the Journal of Dementia Care. Please use the QR code on the screen or the link in the chat to read the article. And do remember, if you are a member, one of your benefits is a 25% discount on a subscription to the Journal of Dementia Care. So if you enjoy the editor's pick, do sign up to JDC. And then finally, a thank you to the Unforgettable Foundation, who have kindly set up a GoFundMe page for Dementia Community's webinar programme. Our webinars are free to attend, and we want to keep them this way to ensure access for everyone, but providing them does have cost implications for Dementia Community. This fundraiser is intended to help meet those costs, and if you would like to donate, please use the QR code on your screen or the link in the chat. Okay, so some very brief housekeeping before we get into our content. So, as you should already have been alerted to by Zoom, we are recording this webinar. Please use the chat for your questions. We will have Q&A and discussion throughout the presentation, and afterwards our presenters would really love your participation, so do get involved as they prompt you to do so. Afterwards, the recording of the webinar will go onto our YouTube channel, Dementia Community. So let me introduce you to our fantastic team of presenters today. So we have Emily Pym and Rachel Yates-Hoyles, who are National Practice Innovation Leads at Skills for Care. Emma Smith, who is a Project Manager at Age UK Salford and Trafford. And Lisa Markey, Dementia Project Coordinator at Beacon. Welcome to you all. I'm so looking forward to this. And I'm not sure who I'm handing over to first. I'm guessing Rachel or Emily.
It's me, Beth. Hi, Beth. Thanks very much for that. Yes, thank you for that introduction. Yes, I'm here with my colleague, Emily Pinn. And we're going to be sharing the work that we've been doing this last 12 months around the developing the dementia resources for the social care sector. So, yeah, back in April last year, we Skills for Care. I think we've got a slide on Skills for Care, haven't we, Emily? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm forging ahead here, but yeah, a little bit about Skills for Care. I'm not too sure if people know who Skills for Care are, but they are a strategic workforce body for adult social care across England, and we do lots and lots of stuff, but mainly we gather lots of data and insights. We've got a big reach and network across the UK. We have something that people might have heard of locality managers within their areas. So that's like a person who lives and works in your area that you can connect to via Skills for Care. We work in a sort of like integrated sort of like delivery model sort of way as well. So we link to government and we link to organisations, we link to like care homes, we link to people with lived experience. And we work across a lot of different sort of like work streams. And Emily and I work on the prevention agenda and work within dementia. So that's what we're presenting on here today. So the plan for this webinar is to showcase our dementia resources, which were launched at Dementia Congress in November last year, and we're welcoming Emma Smith from Age UK and Lisa Markey from Beacon Dementia and Wellbeing, who have worked with us on the resources and who share them throughout their service. So just to bring their voices into this webinar here today. And Millie, who's another from another provider, but she wasn't here today. So we've got a little video of her to showcase the work that she's done as well. But we're going to be introducing the resources and focusing really on some of the key resources that we've worked on. So distress behaviour, supporting family carers and building connection and communication. And we're going to go into a little bit more detail on each of them throughout this webinar. I just want to say as well before we start, if people have got any questions, please put them in the Q&A box there. We will get to them if we can towards the end. We've got a section towards the end where we will be going through and answering any questions. So if you think of a question, don't wait till the end, put it in the box now and we'll go back and look at the questions. We've also got a little poll here. So when we started to develop the resources, we found from a national survey that there was a lack of confidence for people working in social care and supporting people living with dementia. So this is just a little quick poll of how confident do you feel when supporting people living with dementia? %, well, number one is not very confident, I'm presuming, and five, very, very confident. Oh, that's good to see. So yeah, so I've got 52% of people are fairly confident. So that's great. So that's half the people on this webinar feel fairly confident that supporting people living with dementia. That's really good. We'll do the poll at the end as well, because we're going to be sharing some top tips as well throughout this webinar. So hopefully it'll increase people's confidence as they're learning more things. That's great. Thanks, Rod. I don't know if that screen goes on mine or not. Don't know. Um, so thank you for completing that poll if you've done that. That's really, really helpful. So just to start off our sort of presentation, we just thought it'd be helpful just to introduce some key statistics around dementia. So these statistics have come from the Alzheimer's Society and from Alzheimer's Research UK. So some of you may have already seen these statistics. They're quite starking, but just to, reiterate that currently around 1 million people in the UK living with dementia. We know that is on the increase and there's expected to be a rise to 1.4 million by 2040. We know there's a lot of younger people developing dementia. We know that there's a rise in the over 80s. So yeah, it's a growing sort of trend, which we've known about. And I've worked in dementia care for many, many years, 25 plus years, and I've seen that grow and grow each year. But yeah, we know that it can affect a lot of younger people too. And by younger people, we mean people under the age of 65. And we know that research suggests that 45% of dementia diagnoses worldwide are linked to factors which may be influential. One of the resources that we did is around prevention and brain health and ageing well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well within one of our resources. But why did we produce the dementia resources? So we were funded by the Department of Health and Social Care to develop 6 resources We did get a little bit carried away with this, and we developed 10 in the end, just because we've seen such a big need. And there were some really key themes that came through our mapping that we did in April last year. But essentially, conversations and connection was one of the key themes. And it was, how do we keep communication meaningful when dementia changes? And how do we support people to keep families together and to keep, people together, and for them to, hold people when it was most needed, and look at simple approaches. We're going to hear from Emma shortly, who's going to talk about that, because we developed some communication and connection videos. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that soon. But we also wanted to include distress behaviours as well. That was the second key theme that came through, and sort of like getting the key messages out there that dementia, that distress isn't challenging behaviour, it's a communication, and that's why we reworded to distress behaviours. And that was quite a big booklet that we created, but we split it into different sections. And the third thing that came through was around supporting family carers. And one of the things that came through, the feedback we got, was around the challenge for people navigating services. We got told, and a lot of people tell us, that when they get a diagnosis within the member clinics, that they feel abandoned, they get discharged and feel abandoned, they don't know where else to go. So we really included family carers into our resources, and Lisa from Beacon is here to talk a little bit more about that with me later on. But here are what the resources look like. You can find them on our webpage. I think we're going to put a link into the chat there so you can go straight to the resources. But we've created 10, and we've put them under different headings. So one is around prevention, healthy, ageing well. There's a theme there around before and after diagnosis. We found that a lot of people were quite stressed around this time, so didn't know how to navigate the system or where to go and who to contact. So we did some resources around that. And then we focused on the two key themes, which were communication and distress behaviour. So that's around supporting care and support for those family carers, paid carers, and everybody really. And then we focused on family carers. So we created a little mini toolkit around family carers as well. And then lastly, we worked with a range of care homes to develop some end of life resources too, which includes a little bit around early onset dementia as well, and how that differs towards end of life. But yeah, there's a link to the resources there. When we did the mapping exercise as well, people told us that they wanted bite size. They didn't want loads of pages they could read through. They wanted easy to read pictures, flow charts, videos, them sorts of things. So if they had 2 minutes or they had 5 minutes, they could quickly click on and get some information. But also we didn't want to duplicate what was already out there in the sector as well. So these resources are complementary of what is out there, which there's some great resources already out there too. So the prevention one is around ageing and some top tips around ageing. And we got loads of top tips from our prevention group that linked into the Lancet report. So I don't know if people know what the Lancet report is, but it highlights the 14 risk factors of developing dementia. And we focus on a few of those, and especially the ones around learning to cope with change, and focus on things that we're grateful for. We know that as we get older and we lose people, we lose things, and independence and choice can become limited. That accepting things that are not in our control is good for our health, and also letting things go of things that don't serve us anymore can bring more joy into our life. I've been incredibly grateful this weekend. I think it was Saturday. I think the sun was out, and I seen some little bulbs coming through my garden. I mean, the signs of spring coming through, it just made me just full of joy and filled my heart. So sometimes it's focusing on the little things in life that can bring you that little bit of joy. Connection with family and friends can also help us find joy. Connection to a community group or doing a hobby. And also things like being present in the moment. We live in a stressful world, don't we? So there's some tips in there around how to become more present in the moment. So this sort of prevention resource around ageing well is it's a poster. So if you can go onto the web page, you can click, you can download, and you can print off as well. So it's maybe something to have at home, or little reminder and things. The second resource we did on this slide is around step by step. So people felt they didn't know where to go. They felt a little bit lost. So we've done a little, you'll see a little diagram of it there, like 1 to 6 there. And we just go like a step by step of what to do when you're worried about somebody's memory, or they may be saying something or behaving in a different way than what they used to. So a step-by-step sort of guide of what to do and what to expect, and things to do, like a little checklist that you might not have considered. So people worried about either forgetting something or not doing the right thing. So we included that as well. And that's like a little leaflet fold, Z fold, little roadmap as well there. So they're two of the resources that we started with. I've mentioned the Carers Mini Toolkit, and these are the three sort of like toolkits that are in there. So we did one on like benefits and practical support, so what sort of benefits were available to people. We did one on carers' rights. We worked with Dementia Carers Count as well, the charity, the national charity there, on this mini resource as well. So they were really, really helpful in including a lot of content for this as well. And we did some work as well around emotional health for carers and some top tips. And I'm going to bring in Lisa now. So Lisa works for Dementia, Beacon Dementia and Wellbeing, up in East Lancashire, a little place called Rosendale. And I'm going to introduce Lisa here now and just ask Lisa, tell us a little bit more about Beacon, Lisa, and what they do and your role.
Okay, hiya everybody. I'm Lisa Market and I'm the project coordinator for Beacon Dementia and Wellbeing. As Rachel said, we're from a little place called Rosendale in East Lancashire. My job, I came on board last year because we were lucky enough to get some lottery funding, which was going to enable us to basically reach more people in the community, make ourselves more known and available to carers and people with dementia, and also people who are quite isolated as well. So we do a lot of volunteer opportunities, wellbeing groups as well. We have a Beacon Dementia Shed that we're very proud of, which is where people can come and spend a couple of hours with us every week and carry out meaningful activities. We do woodwork, crafts, anything that people want to do. It's led by the person who comes. We have carers monthly groups. I run a weekly hub where people can come and join, just come for a chat or find more information out about what we can offer them, or I can signpost other services within the local area, and I link in quite closely with the local authority and GPs and things like that as well. So that's kind of my role and what I do.
Oh, sounds wonderful, that, Lisa. Can you tell us about how you support carers? Because I know you've got a carers group, haven't you?
Yes. So when I first came on board, we were providing monthly carers groups, and also we were doing some carers groups online via Zoom, which was something that was obviously working quite well during COVID because people weren't able to come in. But what I noticed when I came on board was that some people don't really like that group setting all the time. It's great. We have a lot of people turning up every month and they meet friends and people in a similar situation to them. But also we've started to provide that one-to-one support now for carers. Because, like I say, some people don't like to discuss their what's going on in their lives. So yeah, that's what I've kind of been doing with carers over the past few months.
That sounds great, Lisa. So the resources, especially around the directory, because it's got lots of directory stuff in there around contacts for national organisations, for learning development in there. How has that worked at the carers groups?
It's really useful actually, because a lot of people have said to me that they find that when a person gets diagnosed with dementia, if you're there with them at the appointment, you kind of get bombarded with information overload, but you're also just trying to take that information in. So it's quite overwhelming. So the fact that I can have this tool there, just to give people some out of hours support or some other help and support services, it's a really good tool for me and for people that come to the group, so they can take either a copy of it, or like you say, they've got QR codes attached to all of the sheets, so they can
Yeah.
also take that as well. So it's really good, yeah.
That's really good. Thanks, Lisa. I know from running carers groups myself, it's you get a lot of strong emotions, don't you, in carers groups and things. And I know some family carers can struggle with feelings of guilt and managing stress, and so we did a resource around reflection and sort of like helping them cope with stress and how they're feeling, and to normalize that sort of thing. Have you shared that? I know you shared that at the group.
Yeah, yeah. So the emotional well-being tool is a good prompt for me, really, because sometimes a person can come with a mixture of emotions, and like you say, guilt, anger, and it's important for them to sometimes sit back and think, actually, what an amazing job that they're doing. Often they'll say that they're having to make decisions for people that they didn't anticipate ever making, for parents or for a partner, and not wanting to take that independence away from people, that can be quite overwhelming, and
Yeah,
people come with a lot of guilt. So it's just a reminder, really, that tool, that just to sit and reflect and think, why are you making these decisions? It's in that person's best interest, and you're basically doing what you're doing because you care and love them, really.
absolutely. Yes. And I know at the bottom of that resource there is some top tips around supporting people to make decisions when they're feeling overwhelmed and they're not too sure where to go and things. But I love the bit around, I was part of the development of the self-compassion sort of thing, looking after yourself. So we know at Beacon that you do a lot of that, supporting carers to look after themselves and to, make sure that they're doing things that bring them some joy and to give them permission to look after themselves too.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
yeah,
good part of
yeah.
the job.
Oh, I know, the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
I know we've got some questions that have come in the chat from Lisa there, so we'll either get back to you on that or we can answer them towards the end. But thank you very much, Lisa, for that.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks
good,
for that.
thanks.
Rachel, I
Yeah.
was I was just going to add, we've got a bit of time now if we wanted to pick those up
All right.
at
Okay.
this point. So there is a question for Lisa around whether the service, the Beacon service, just covers your local area or does it support in any other areas?
So at the moment, we mainly cover Rossendale because that's where we are. We are quite a small charity. However, we are trying to. We don't say that people can't come over. I have a couple that come over from Bury every week, so that's in a different local authority to us. So it would never stop people if they're able to travel to come to Beacon. Anyone's welcome. Obviously, if carers wanted to have that support from myself as well, I'm always available to chat to people. So I wouldn't say no to that, but obviously we do mainly support people in Rosendale because that's where we are based, basically.
Yeah. And
But
we've
that's
had some other questions as well. So we've been asked specifically about the leaflets. I think in general, if the leaflets have been through any readability tools for health literacy, and also a question around whether the resources have been co-created with patients and their carers and support.
Yes, they were created with people living with dementia and family carers as well. Yes, they were. What was the other question?
It was just
Readability.
around
Yes, yes,
readability
yeah,
tools
yes,
for
they
health
were. Yeah,
literacy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they were all that. Yeah, and accessibility was really important when we were developing these. So we wanted to make sure there wasn't a lot of text. It was broken up with images and little scenarios, little bits where people could reflect and write little notes or doodle on them. So really, really practical sort of tools. That's what we were aiming for. If you go onto our webpage, we are still asking for feedback on those. So if you've had the opportunity to go on there or if you've used them, please, there's a little Microsoft Teams or the little tab at the side on the right hand side, just for like, I think there's one or two questions, just for feedback, because we are still in a sort of like period where we could possibly make changes to them.
We've got a link we can put in for that as well, Rachel, just
Thanks.
towards the end, once we've got our resources
Thanks, Emily.
kind of
Yeah,
covered.
that's good.
There's just One other question that's just come in. So can the resources be sent via email like the Zoom link was? Because Tracy's joined by phone and can't open them because some of them might be blocked via Zoom. So
Yes,
I'm sure
probably
that will
one
be
for
fine,
me.
but that's a
Yeah,
question for Beth.
yeah, that's probably one for me. To say yes. So you, when we were arranging this webinar, Emily and Rachel very kindly sent us a links sheet for afterwards. And we're just working out at the moment whether we're going to email that, whether we're going to add it to the description on the YouTube link, but we will certainly disseminate it because I think you've included really everything in that PDF that you would want people to know after today. And that's what I would like people to see. So we will work out how's best to do that, and you will receive it. We will definitely be sharing it.
Thank you.
Okay, so the other big resource that we developed was around distress behaviour. And Molly couldn't make it here today, but Molly works for an organisation called Leading Lives, and they support people living with dementia with a learning disability, and mainly focus quite a lot on distress behaviour. So we've recorded Millie, and we wanted her to be here today so she could just have a little bit of a spotlight and share the work that she does as well. So we're just going to play a little 5-minute video from Millie talking about distress behaviour.
For having me. It's lovely to be here today. I work for an organisation called Leading Lives, which is the UK's largest health and social care co-op. And I work predominantly with people who are experiencing dementia, and distress behaviour is one of the subjects I'm particularly passionate about. So I was really pleased to get the chance to be involved. And this resource is really helpful, and it's now going to feature on our website so that we can ensure that staff have some top tips. So this just gives you a little flavour of some of the things that are in there. So when we're thinking about distress behaviour, the thing that we want staff to do is to be curious and to ask why. And often that doesn't happen. People almost get labelled, oh, they've got challenging behaviour. And language is something that we talk about in the distress behaviour resources, because we want people to think about how language makes people feel, but also how language makes us feel. When I say to somebody, oh, so-and-so's got challenging behaviour, often the staff will go, oh, they sound a bit scary. But if I say the person's experiencing behavioural distress, or they've got some distressed behaviour, that brings out the empathy response. And that's what we want, because all behaviour happens for a reason, and people are not doing this behaviour to make your life difficult. Why is the big question we need people to ask. And it helps you think about the health aspect. If I haven't been to the toilet for a few days, that's not going to make me feel very happy with life. So have we exhausted all the health options? Do we know if they've had enough to eat or drink? Are they feeling okay? Have they got a headache? Have they got pain? And if they have, how can they tell us that? And communication is really important. And we must remember that behaviour is a form of communication. They are telling us something, and how we respond will also inform how they respond back to us. And a big part of that is getting to know the person, what's happened in their life, what makes them them, because we cannot assume that just because we've met one person with dementia, we've met everyone with dementia. Every single person is unique and different and has their own story. So one of the key things we want people to do is to be curious and ask why. So next slide, please. This gives us an example of one of the tools, and as somebody that's managed a mental health nursing home, this is something that actually I've had happen to me, with one of my lovely lady residents saying, call the police, I shouldn't be here, you're holding me against my will, I need to get home. And in the past, I think I've seen lots of staff respond in a, no, this is your home now. And that can be absolutely the worst thing to say, because it makes the person feel really anxious. What you need to think about is, what are they feeling that's making them communicate with you in that way? Are they confused or disorientated? Do they feel that they've lost the ability to hear their voice and to have their voice heard? Do they feel safe? If they don't feel safe, is that why they're asking for the police? How can you make someone feel safe and secure and comfortable? So we encourage people to think about different replies, and having some examples I think is really important because it gives staff a few cues. So a possible reply could be, "That's really scary for you. How can I make this better?" Or, "That sounds really frightening, but you're safe now and I'm here to help you. Let's sit down together and let's talk about what's worrying you." Validate their feelings. Their feelings are their own. Next slide, please. And just to reiterate, all behaviour does happen for a reason. And by helping staff understand that, we can help them to reflect and look beyond the behaviour and think about why that's happening. We also encourage staff just to take a breath as well, because sometimes in that situation when somebody is showing behavioural distress, staff can react very quickly. And what we want them to do is just take a moment, take a breath, think about what's happening, what's going on in the environment, what's happened just before, and be calm. Because just as panic is contagious, so is being calm. So the care worker that can take that breath, be calm, have a calm response, will help keep everything else calm. And be kind, because we often forget that one of the most important skills that we have as care workers is being compassionate and being kind and listening. And Rachel touched on it before, but joy. Redirection is really important, but I like to redirect with joy, redirect with doing something fun, redirect with doing something positive. And a mantra I have is I say no very few times to anybody with dementia. Say yes more. Say yes and make things happen and make everybody's lives better, because the sun still does shine in muddled minds. Thank you for having.
And that was Millie from Leading Lives. How wonderful was that? She's so positive, isn't she? Yeah. Oh, thank you for the hearts. Yeah. I think just to summarise that, I mean, Millie talked about one of the scenarios and the examples in the distress behaviour resource. So that's just one. And we've got lots of different other sort of like storytelling scenarios and some top tips in how to support people who are distressed. And there's some great things in there and some great tools. There's an empathy map in there as well, so people can work through maybe being curious and thinking about what somebody might be seeing, what they might be hearing, what they might be feeling. So I mean, we don't know for 100% how another person might be, what they might be experiencing, but it can help us become more curious around that. And when we've got curiosity, we can start to understand things a little bit more different for people, can't we? So yes, really, really good resource. It is quite a big book. I think it's about 20 pages, but it's split up into different bite-sized sections that you can go to. As and when you've got like a minute or 2 minutes or whatever. So yeah, a really, really good booklet there for people to download and to use at team meetings or just sat around your kitchen table having a brew, just having a read through. So really accessible there. Don't know if you've got any questions on that, Emily, or not. If not, we can come to them towards the end.
Don't think we do. We have some really lovely reflections in the chat, and some not so great reflections just on their people's experiencing some hard kind of like little support with their diagnosis. And it just sounds like there was a lot of appreciation from Millie there on her video, so that was great.
Oh, thanks, Emily. It's a really difficult journey to navigate, isn't it? Yeah, really difficult. Well, we'll move on then to the other resource that we did around communication and connection. And we developed the videos. There's 3 videos, 1-minute videos with Emma Smith from Age UK Salford and Trafford, who works for Empowered Conversations, who do amazing work with family carers and people who work in dementia care and supporting people live with dementia. So, hi, Emma.
Hello.
Hello.
There was a lot of hearts for Millie. I was like, oh God,
Oh,
next. She's had about 5,000 hearts.
I'm sure you'll get some hearts as well, Emma. Tell us a little bit then about Empowered Conversations and the work that you do.
Okay, so hello everybody. We empower families to live as well as they can with dementia. And we do that by enhancing the support that's available across Greater Manchester. We deliver communication courses, so we have empowered conversations and moving beyond words. We offer one-to-one dementia-focused support for family carers. We have a carers voice group, and we also run a bereavement group.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Keeps us
Yeah,
busy, Rachel.
it does. It does. And the majority of that is online as well, isn't it, Emma? So people can
It's
access it in Greater Manchester. What happens if you live outside Greater Manchester?
still come and talk to us, because I bet we can help you. So yes, it's online or it's on the phone. So all of our courses are delivered online. The one-to-one support can be on the phone, old school phone, not that one, can be on the phone, or it can be online.
That's good. That's good. And what sort of things happen in the courses and on the one-to-ones? Like, how do you support family carers?
I suppose we walk alongside family carers affected by dementia. And I'm a member of a big team, and we've all been affected by dementia. So it's touched all of our lives. We support carers to stay well within their caring role. That's a big part of what we do. So we've heard already about self-care, but self-care will come up in everything that we do. And that enables families to stay together at home for longer, reducing the risk of carer breakdown and the associated costs for the individual, for families, and for the wider society. So I talked a little bit about the 2 courses, and I just totted it up. We've got over 30 hours of communication sessions that we deliver through 2 courses that we do ourselves, and then another course that we deliver with Dr. Maggie Ellis, who has been fantastic. She's at the University of St Andrews. She comes and delivers adaptive interactions for us. Everything we do, and we've heard it already from Millie, but it's around, and from you and from Lisa, is around encouraging curiosity. So asking why. If we can get into that frame of mind where we're asking why, we're wondering why something's happening, we're wondering why somebody's saying something, it's going to help us respond in a different way. Reflective thinking, Rachel, you mentioned that at the beginning about reflection. Every session of our courses, every one-to-one session will include reflection. What's been going on for you? What's changed? How can we talk about that? Peer-to-peer support is massive in what we do, and that's through the groups that we run and also our courses. Self-care, essential. Every session of our course starts with a breathing exercise as we start the session, just to sort of ground people. Problem solving, mentalization. So that's sort of where we understand what's going on in our own heads, and we get curious about what's going on in somebody else's head. Emotional support, connection alongside communication. So that's what we do. And yeah, next question, Rach. I
Oh,
need to
sounds
see you,
amazing,
Rachel.
all that.
Can you come on, Rachel? Because I'm only talking to myself, and I want to see your.
Oh, that sounds amazing, that, Emma. And I'm sure a lot of people would value the support there that you're offering there. So tell us about the videos and how you develop them.
Okay, so last year, when Skills for Care approached us, they asked for 3 short films, so 1-minute films. So we thought, right, crikey, we do 12 hours of a course. How can we summarize that into 3 1 minutes? But we did. So we picked these 3 themes: curiosity, inviting people into conversations, and thinking about non-verbal communication. So we really wanted to give people in 1 minute something that they could watch, understand, take away and practice and discuss with their colleagues. And actually, it's not just for professionals, this is for families as well. So we went out to our carers voice group, and I said, is there anyone who's going to volunteer to help me make these films? And thankfully, the wonderful Emma stepped forward. She's supporting her mum who has dementia, and Emma's been on all of our courses. She has monthly one-to-one sessions with us. She supports her mum alongside her daughter, and she's also been on all the courses and has the one-to-one support. So she supported us in making these films. So I think, should we show one now, Rach?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be good.
So these days, trying to engage with mum and start a conversation going, as it were, is not done with me asking her a question. It is just by going down to her level, and just involving her in what's happening in that moment. So, oh, look at the weather, Mum, today. And she'll look outside her window. Oh, it's a bit fresh today, Mum. And get her to be involved in the conversation rather than me asking any questions. That gives her that safe space then to join in that conversation.
So that's one of the 3 videos then, Emma. The other 2 are online and people can have access and have a look at that. But I think what Emma is describing there is what you call invitation to respond. Is that right?
It is an invitation to respond. Yeah. So it's where we encourage people to create conversations and invite people to join them. So we all know, you Google dementia and communication, and you know that you shouldn't be asking questions. But if you ask a lot of questions, naturally, it's really hard to get into a different space where you think, oh, I'm not going to ask a question, I'm going to use this. And that's what the invitation to respond does. It sort of encourages people to think about how they hold conversations. Like we've all gone along, and for 50 years, well, me and Rachel 50 years, others less, and we just talk, and we don't always think about what the way that we communicate, the way that we ask questions. We don't always think about that, so it's really hard to then think, oh, I'm not supposed to ask a question, I've got to do something in a different way. So the invitation to respond is a way of us getting people just to think, actually, yeah, I don't need to ask a question. So if I ask you a question now, Rachel, I'm demanding information from you, and that's going to put some pressure on me. So instead of using that, we can think about inviting somebody into a conversation where there's no pressure to answer. I don't have to answer this question. I don't have to answer. I can join the conversation if I want to. So I could say, Rachel, that's a lovely plant behind your head.
It's real, that, Emma. It's fantastic, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
She
didn't have to join me, so we invite people to join. We take away the pressure that a question brings with it, and we sort of, if we're curious about how that might feel, we think back to, right, we're all back at school and the teacher's asked us a question and we don't know the answer, and everyone's looking at us. There's like 30 kids and the strictest teacher ever looking at us, and we don't know the answer. That feeling, that's what we're trying to avoid. So we want to have easy connections and communications with people. So an invitation is one of those tools. And we also start to think about creating conversations that we know somebody else is going to be able to join us with, rather than something that they're never going to be able to join. If somebody has quite advanced dementia, talking about what they've had for lunch, if they've had the medication, it's not going to be very helpful for that person. And also, we don't really need to know. We could look at the signs if they've taken the medication or had the lunch.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Emma. I mean, I always start with a statement, because people ask that people like tea or coffee, don't they? That's a question, but saying something like, I love tea, or I'm putting the kettle on, is a statement, isn't it? It's an invitation, like you said, to respond if somebody chooses to, without adding pressure on.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Because if I say to you, you want a cup of tea, and you're not quite sure who I am and why I'm asking, I don't know if I've got the money for a cup of tea. Why is she asking me if I want a cup of tea? Don't know if I want a cup of tea.
I drink coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just saying, oh, I'm really thirsty. Oh, I'm dying for a cuppa. Yeah. Be very helpful.
Yeah. And I think another tip that I've learned as well is what you're saying there, is sometimes look around you to see what there is, the weather, the plants, a picture or something is something that you can link to a conversation with, isn't it, without asking a question. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom, Emma. I'm sure that's really helped a lot of people here on this call and wider, and as will the other videos as well. Thank you to you and your team, Emma, for that. And look at these hearts now.
I feel like there's sympathy hearts, if I'm honest.
You put people under a lot of pressure for that, but no, it's really...
Even Beth's put a sympathy heart up.
We've got no questions really, but we have got a reflection. We've got a reflection around having the standardized test to diagnose dementia is asking a lot of questions, or asking them to draw, asking them to kind of do an activity, putting pressure on people that way. It's, I guess, more of a reflection from that conversation.
Yeah, it is difficult, isn't it? Sorry. Go on, Emma, you reply.
I was going to reflect back. So this is from a personal experience of my dad. sharing with his friend the questions so that they could practice it before they go in, because as long as they pass it at the GP, then they haven't got dementia. So, you know, that's that's my reflection on questions being used there.
I think my reflection as well would be to include family members and life story, knowing the person and, you know, including the wider family in that as well is key, isn't it, as well?
And it's often about having those conversations sometimes separately, because sometimes
It is.
speak for the person and the person obviously wants to speak for themselves. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff around diagnosis. I work with memory clinics. So yeah, there's an awful lot that needs to sit alongside a good diagnosis. It should not just be about something like a mental state examination.
Absolutely. Totally agree, Beth.
Can we just before we go any further, I just want to go back and acknowledge what Stephen put in the chat. I know, Stephen, I know the work that he's done in Northern Ireland, but I just wanted to read it out for the purposes of everyone to hear this, because I think this really sums up why you're all doing what you're doing and you're trying to improve things, because actually some people are having a really, really difficult time. So Stephen says, in Northern Ireland, we get very little information at the time of diagnosis. You generally are told the type and dementia, and you have to go and then get your affairs in order. My own diagnosis was horrific. I was left for 3 weeks before anybody from the health service made contact with me. I had been constantly on Google and convinced myself I would be dead within a very short space of time. This level of response was absolutely disgraceful and unacceptable, but to this day, this still continues. And I think there will be people who will agree with that. And I think that work you've done within this toolkit around diagnosis and a good diagnosis and what it can look like for people afterwards will hopefully support as many individuals as possible to have a better experience going forward.
Thank you, Beth, and for sharing that. And I'm sorry that's your experience. But yeah, we've tried to share some best practice here as well to show other people as well and other organisations that this is what we want to achieve for everybody, no matter where you are. I think we've just got one more slide left, which is just showcasing two more resources that we developed, which is just around end of life. So the feedback that we got from the mapping was that people struggle with starting to have a conversation around end of life conversations. They don't know what to say. They feel like they might be offending people. They felt they were out of their depth. So we've done a little resource on some like the little prompt cards they are. So you can print them off, but you can cut them into like little pocket sort of prompt cards. And some things on the prompt cards are like, if you were ill, where would you want to be? Have you thought about what kind of support you might want if you weren't able to make your voice heard or make any decisions for yourself? So there's just some really quick tips to conversation starters, linking into maybe what you've watched on a soap TV program or something like that. So some really just some key things if you wanted to start to open a conversation with people around that. And another resource we did was around spirituality in dementia care. And we worked with a couple of care homes on this. And we wanted to talk about the difference between spirituality and religion, and some highlighting some of the signs that people might be in spiritual distress, and some like top tips for supporting people with good spiritual care. And we also included some tips for people with young onset, because we know that is different towards end of life compared to some other people. So they're just two little A5 little booklets. I think one of them's only like 2 pages. So some really good sort of resources and top tips there. So that's our toolkit, our 10 dementia resources. We are asking for feedback, and we do hope that they are helpful and useful to people. And we do encourage people to share them as widely across their networks as possible. And I think we've come to sort of like Q&A. If anybody's got any questions about any of the resources, or anybody who wants to ask a panel member anything, please do put in the chat.
I think firstly, I'd like to say thank you to you guys so much for sharing such fantastic information, and I think really inspirational information.
Oh,
we hear so much about, there is a lot of struggle in social care and in healthcare at the moment. around obviously supporting people with dementia and squeeze budgets and all of the challenges that we hear about constantly. But we do need to hear about the solutions, don't we? We need to hear about the little tips and tricks and the things that are going to help us do things better when we don't have a load of money to throw at something.
Yeah.
So just thank you for that. I think the toolkit's amazing. I think you've done some brilliant stuff. Really interesting. You made it bite size. I do dementia training. I'm sometimes asked to deliver all day sessions. I mean, it's overwhelming for people. I think so interesting that it's small stuff. Now we're going to get some questions in the chat. I know we are. I can see them coming in, but there is something I wanted to ask you. So Rachel, you talked about younger people, and I know we have the Young Dementia Network with us today because I've seen them here. Now you mentioned that particularly sat in the end of life part of the toolkit, but do you reference younger people and supporting younger people well in other parts of the resources as well?
Yes, yes. We'd really love to do a resource on its own, but we've run out of time and capacity to do it. And we knew there was already some great resources out there. So they are referenced throughout the resources as a whole, but we just made it a little bit more on end of life because there's somebody with lived experience who was part of that group who helped develop it. So that's why it's in there. But yeah, it was really important to mention and refer to people with young onset, definitely without the resources. We just wish we could have done more resources.
Which leads me on to my next question, which I'm going to get in because I know we're then going to be
Oh,
chock-a-block with the chat. Is there anything upcoming with Skills for Care around dementia, or is this like the big piece of work? Where are we with that?
so we're probably not going to be developing more resources within the next 12 months. But we have reviewed the dementia training standards, so that will be launched very soon. So that's the next big piece of work that we've been doing, and we've been viewing the end of life and frailty sort of training standards as well. So that will be coming out shortly as well. But sadly, no resources as yet, but we will keep pushing because we know this is what the sector is asking for.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Right, should we divvy up the questions, Emily? I'll go for one. So are the resources available in any other languages other than English?
Sadly not, and we really hope there will be. And if we get any money, we will definitely do that. It was a discussion that we had.
And you've got lots of brilliant comments saying thank you so much in the chat as well. Emily, can you spot any other questions at the moment? I'm just having a look through because there's a lot in here at the moment.
I haven't got any, I can't see any. It was just, yeah, like you say, Beth, lots of thank yous, which is really lovely to hear. Thank you. And yeah, Kate says, haven't felt like I've been to a well-organized and informative meeting in a while, so it's not overwhelming. It was not overwhelming in any way. I'm glad going to share your amazing work with people of Wrexham. And thank you so much, Kate. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we can get these links out to you as well so that you can share on and download some of these resources.
Yes, a little update on that. So we've tried to share a PDF into the chat, which is not working because of our Zoom setting. So it will either come to you via email, or it will certainly go into the description of when we put the YouTube webinar recording up as well. But we will certainly make sure it is shared so you will not miss out at all. I think what Miriam said is really interesting. So helpful session. We will be sharing the resources. The distress comments. I always include a comment re a care home resident who kept throwing his drink at the staff simply because they didn't know he needed his brew with sugar. That
Oh,
that's a great one.
Mm-hmm. And I've got one from my innumerable work in care homes, a lady who was counting, constantly counting, and staff would come and sit down, try and distract. I said, we need to know what this number means. What is this number? It turned out it was her words per minute from when she was in a typing pool, her first job after school. She was actually a really good typist, so for her, that was a really important number. So it does always pay to know the backstory.
absolutely. And it links to identity, doesn't it, for that lady as well? It was her occupation and who she was, yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you, Beth.
Someone's joined us from South Africa. Hello, it's lovely to see our webinars going around the world.
I wondered if we could just do our closing poll, if that was okay, just to see if we can kind of get everyone's thoughts after the webinar. Thank you.
So it's the same question on how people feel how confident people feel supporting people living with dementia.
Notice we've got a 6 on this one though.
Oh gosh, yes, what's happened there?
We've got a lot more, actually. Yes, we've got a lot more numbers. So
it's gone off the scale because they're very confident after the webinar. We've had to put in there.
I think we
very,
did
very confident.
I think we did a 1 to 5 before. We've got a 1 to 10.
we have.
Ah.
I want it 1 to 10.
And I think what we say is, if you are feeling in the less confident category, obviously we've shared information, but people will not have had a chance to go and have a look at the resources yet. So that is going to be a key part of people on go and have a look at the resources. I just want to read Stephen's comment. Thank you so much to each and every single carer involved with dementia. As a person living with dementia, I can say that we are very aware that dementia affects more people than just ourselves. Each and every one of you is a pure diamond. Thank you so much. Which is very lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much. And lots of people saying they're going to use your resources, which I think is really, really important. Is there anything that complements these resources in Skills for Care's recent work? Rachel, anything particularly for providers, anything you would like to sort of say, actually, do you know what, if you enjoy these, if you are a provider, this is what we would suggest you go and look at next? And you're on mute.
Yes. Sorry, the dog's barking, the doorbell's gone. Yes, and I think we've put together a resource sheet together as well, so that can be shared after this webinar, and people can go on the links and things. So yeah, there is more information. Just too much to pack into this hour.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Lots and lots of lovely thank yous. Are we happy with the poll? Do you feel you've made an impact?
Yeah, I think more people are more confident, which is good, and I'm glad people have enjoyed it more than anything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So amazing resources, great resources. Just to thank you, listening to how others deliver care validates what we do and gives other areas to consider. Really interesting session. And if anyone else has got any other questions, you've got about a minute to pop them in the chat.
Could I just ask, so I noticed that Lisa didn't get much love when she finished, so can you give some love to Lisa, because she's going to leave this so she needs a little bit of love before she finishes.
Thank you, Emma. I think I got like 1 heart, so yeah, I did feel a bit low about that actually, but
that's just because people didn't know where the buttons were at that point. Lisa, I loved what you said when you said, people come along, you offer things in your sheds, but actually people come along. But, it's led by them. So actually what the activity is going to be is not prescribed by you. It is led by the person. And that is absolutely where everyone should be. We have an interesting comment around how people live with other conditions apart from dementia. So we are translating our work with prehabilitation in dementia. I think there might be rehabilitation in patients with cancer into the dementia pathways. The evidence of exercise and nutritional support together with emotional support is very robust in delaying the decline. Thank you for your inspiring webinar. We have funding to co-design a trial and will include fMRI. This aligns with the National Cancer Plan priorities, and it'd be good to have more webinars like this. And we will endeavour to run webinars on other topics. We do run lots of webinars around lots of different health topics. Our last one was around oral health, and there are others upcoming this year. But we're pretty much at the end. So I think it's time for me to say thank you so much to Rachel, to Emily, to Lisa, and to Emma for a fantastic webinar today. We really appreciate everything you've shared with us. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Our next webinar is from Admiral Nurse Hannah Gardner, and it is entitled Driving Awareness and Support for Children and Young People Living Within Families Affected by Dementia, Building Brighter and More Hopeful Futures. I think very much probably ties in with some of those family resources that we've talked about today. So it's on Tuesday, the 10th of March. Make a note, it is a Tuesday, not a Monday. It is available to book onto now. So do visit our webinars page and follow us on Eventbrite. That's the fastest, quickest, most reliable way to hear every time we put a webinar live. But thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to the team of presenters for today, and we look forward to seeing you on another Dementia Community webinar soon.
Thanks, Beth.